En glutenfri trend drar just nu fram över världen. Många undviker idag gluten av hälsoskäl som de säger.
There's a lot of information on the internet, lots of books, lots of media out there saying how a gluten-free diet can make you healthy.
What we've really seen in the last few years is the rise of celebrity endorsements of the gluten-free diet.
Vissa forskare hävdar att människan inte är utvecklad för att smälta gluten.
For the 2.5 million years of evolution, 99.9% our species been gluten-free.
Och de riktigt extrema har till och med påstått att glutenfri kost kan bota allt från depression till autism. Men hur är det egentligen? Är verkligen gluten farligt för oss?
People are going on gluten-free diets to lose weight or to increase their health, when in actual fact they're doing the opposite.
Det är i Australien som den glutenfria trenden är starkast. Här undviker hela 10% gluten, trots att de flesta inte lider av glutenintolerans. Men var kommer den här idén ifrån? Och vad är det glutenskeptikerna är så rädda för? Gluten är ett protein som finns i till exempel vete. Det består av 2 huvuddelar, glutenin och gliadin. Och det är just förekomsten av gluten som gör vetedegen så elastisk till exempel.
Essentially, gluten is a very important protein for food texture and taste. It traps carbon dioxide, so it makes bread fluffy. It allows pizza dough to be twirled around. It gives it that kind of elasticity. It just so happens, though, that parts of gluten may be toxic to the immune system in people with celiac disease.
Ja, för de som lider av celiaki, glutenintolerans, är gluten verkligen giftigt. Och de blir sjuka av att äta det.
It triggers an abnormal immune response that leads to damage to a variety of organs. This includes the bowel. This also includes the skin, the joints, the bones, the nervous system, the liver. It's a very systemic condition.
Hela 1-2% av befolkningen i Sverige tillhör den här gruppen och allt fler får diagnosen celiaki i takt med att medvetenheten om sjukdomen ökar. Kirsty Harris i Melbourne är en av dem.
My first symptoms of celiac disease probably began about 5 years ago. I had a lot of symptoms like bloating, the diarrhea, joint pain, fatigue, dermatitis, but I didn't actually realize it wasn't normal until my doctor 4 years later sent me for a blood test to check for celiac disease, which came back positive.
Celiakin ställer framförallt till skada i tunntarmen.
So these are actually sections of the small intestine under the microscope. On the left here you can see a normal healthy small bowel. And what you can appreciate are these long finger-like projections which we call villi. Now the villi are really important in increasing the surface area of the bowel and allowing nutrients to be absorbed properly. On the right here is a slide from somebody with celiac disease. And what happens is that you get a lot of immune cells causing inflammation to the area, and this expands the tissue up and effectively obliterates the villi.
So this lack of surface area obviously results in some kind of malabsorption of nutrients?
Exactly, so this can lead to iron and other vitamin deficiencies.
Is this damage reversible?
Yes, it is. So for persons diagnosed and treated with a gluten-free diet, this villus atrophy or the damage here can completely return to normal.
Kirsty Harris är numera mycket noga med att undvika gluten.
I find at home it's easy because I have all my safe food. It's more expensive, but I don't have to stress. I find eating out at restaurants and cafes or at family or friends' houses is quite difficult because I have to worry about not only did they use gluten-free flour, but did they use a separate chopping board? Did they use a separate toaster? Did they wash the utensils? Did they use a separate deep fryer? That can be really stressful. Can make it hard eating out.
Men det är just nu många människor som inte alls lider av den här sjukdomen som ändå undviker gluten. Och det ställer till problem för de verkligt glutenintoleranta.
People may order a gluten-free lunch, they may order gluten-free salad, and then they order the normal cake or they order a beer with it. And so other restaurant staff think we can do that too. And they don't understand that we can't have any gluten at all. Even just 1 or 2 crumbs will obviously leave me sick with all my symptoms.
Men ligger det något i att även de som inte har celiaki skulle må bättre av att undvika gluten? Alessio Faisano är professor och barnläkare vid Massachusetts General Hospital i Boston. Han är specialiserad på sjukdomar i mag- och tarmkanalen.
We, as a species, we are not engineered to eat wheat because for the 2.5 million years of evolution, 99.9% our species been gluten-free. Gluten came into the picture only 10,000 years ago with the advent of agriculture.
Han menar att tarmarna därför reagerar som om gluten var något farligt och aktiverar immunförsvaret.
We didn't know the details of why gluten is toxic until the recent past, when scientists worldwide start to really look at this undigestible fragment of gluten. And to our major surprise, gluten is perceived by our immune system as a component of a bacterium or a virus and unleash the same weaponry that we use when we're under attack by an infection.
Alessio Faisano menar att gluten betraktas som ett främmande ämne i tunntarmen och att det ger en immunreaktion och lokala inflammationer. Han anser att människan inte utvecklat effektiva verktyg för att riktigt smälta gluten.
Gluten cannot be completely dismantled because we don't have the scissors, i.e. the enzymes, to cut in pieces and then peel off the single amino acids.
Men det innebär inte att fullt friska människor måste undvika gluten.
The vast majority of people can deal with that and clean this problem without any clinical consequences.
Alessio Faisano tror att gluten kan tänkas spela någon sorts roll för vissa autoimmuna sjukdomar som SLE och ledinflammationer till exempel. Han brukar hänvisa till ett ämne som han kallar zonulin som hans grupp har hittat men som andra forskare haft svårare att identifiera.
Zonulin is a protein that has the capability to modulate the permeability of the gut.
Enligt Faisanos zonulinteori aktiverar vete zonulinet i tarmarna. Och då menar han öppnar det sig utrymmen mellan cellerna i tarmväggen och där kan ämnen läcka ut.
The intestine has the important task to create a barrier, to be extremely discriminatory who comes in and who stays out. The leaky gut syndrome or the leaky gut situation is a situation which you lost this capability of control.
Alessio Faisanos teori är kontroversiell i forskarvärlden, men han tror alltså att exponering för gluten leder till att stora molekyler läcker igenom tarmväggen och att de ger inflammationer och ökar risker för autoimmuna sjukdomar. Men hans slutsatser har inte kunnat bevisas. En annan teori om varför många upplever sig må bättre av att undvika gluten trots att de inte lider av celiaki kallas NCGS. Det är förkortningen av en diagnos som kallas överkänslighet mot gluten.
So non-celiac gluten sensitivity is the term used to describe people who believe that gluten makes them unwell, makes them sick, but that they've had celiac disease appropriately excluded.
Och den här gruppen uppfattar alltså att deras hälsa förbättras av glutenfri mat.
This is an area where personal experience and anecdote really trumps the medical evidence that's emerged. And when people feel better going gluten-free, it's a very compelling argument that it's actually helping them. Many people, when they go gluten-free, report that their tummy upset has settled down, they have better energy levels, mouth ulcers disappear, their aches and pains have gone, and often that they've lost some weight. Sometimes parents of children with autism will find that the gluten-free diet may help their behaviour, or patients who have other autoimmune diseases might find it helps with their joints. But when you look at actual controlled studies, of which there have been very few, that kind of benefit hasn't been borne out. So I don't want to say that there's no benefit. We just haven't yet been able to conduct the studies to show that with good scientific proof that it's happening.
Tarmforskaren Jason Din menar att förklaringen finns i andra proteiner i vetet och inte just gluten.
What we see here is the structure of a wheat kernel, and you can see the major protein is obviously gluten, and this is responsible for celiac disease and some cases of wheat allergy. But what's striking is that there's a whole range of other proteins as well as carbohydrates. So, for instance, albumins and globulins have been causes of wheat allergy, and these amylase trypsin inhibitors are now being implicated in causing inflammation in the intestine and might be potentially a basis for some wheat sensitivity in some people, and certainly studies are underway.
So it's quite likely that someone who thinks they're gluten intolerant might not be. They're actually intolerant to other things in wheat.
Exactly right. So what we're seeing is that there's not just gluten, there's all of these other proteins and also the carbohydrate components, particularly the fructans. And when people go wheat-free, it's very possible that much of the gluten sensitivity problem is related to these other non-gluten components.
Fruktan ingår i en grupp kolhydrater som kallas FODMAP. Det är ett begrepp som nu hörs allt oftare i dietdebatten. Och Peter Gibson har blivit världens mest kända FODMAP-forskare.
FODMAPs is an acronym which stands for fermentable oligo, di and monosaccharides and polyols. And what it does is describes a group of largely sugars which are poorly absorbed from our small intestine or they're totally undigestible.
Peter Gibson tror att FODMAPs drar in vatten i tarmen och att bakterier då startar en jäsning som bildar gas.
The wall of the bowel tends to stretch more, and that's an important stimulus for the nervous system in the gut. So that if you've got a sensitive bowel, you've got irritable bowel syndrome, then this will cause sensations of bloating, pain, and you'll get secondary changes in how the bowels work. You might get diarrhea, you might get constipation, you might get an alternating type bowel pattern.
I normalfallet är såna här FODMAP-kolhydrater bra för tarmbakterierna. Men Peter Gibson menar att vissa är överkänsliga mot dem. Det innebär att de reagerar starkt på FODMAP-rik kost som bröd och lök och vissa frukter som äpple och vattenmelon till exempel.
The good thing is we find foods which are low in FODMAPs which you can replace. So instead of having apples and pears, you can have strawberries or kiwi fruit. And then there are the legumes. Most people understand, when you talk about legumes, they understand the effects of a tin of baked beans on the bowel.
Så både celiaki och tillstånd då folk upplever att de mår bättre utan gluten har blivit vanligare på senare tid. Forskare har börjat fundera över om sättet man bakar bröd på nu för tiden kan ha en betydelse för den här utvecklingen.
The process of panification in the past was an overnight process in which you take the flour, you put the water, you put yeast in there, and then for 16-18 hours you have this dough growing.
Den processen gjorde så att enzymer i jästen bröt ner gluten. Men bakningsmetoderna har förändrats. Det som förr skedde över natten tar numera bara 2 timmar.
Now, during these 2 hours, what you have is the enzyme we're not able to completely dismantle the toxic element, the gluten, and therefore, even if we eat the same kind of wheat, we have an increased amount of toxic component gluten that we ingest because of the fact that not been dismantled during the panification.
Så allt fler väljer alltså bort bröd och andra produkter som kan tänkas innehålla gluten. Det har lett till ett ökat utbud av glutenfria produkter. Men är de alltid nyttigare?
It's so good for my clients with celiac disease because they've got so much more variety than they used to have when I started practicing.
But even those people without celiac disease often think gluten-free is healthier.
Well, it's funny, you know, they're all here in the health food aisle, but they're not necessarily healthier. And in fact, what you find that if you grab something like the pancake mix, if we compare the standard pancake mix here per 100 gram, we're looking at about 840 kilojoules.
So this one's close to 1,400 kilojoules, so close to double.
Yeah, so often when they remove the gluten, they have to add in additional fat and sugar to make it more palatable.
Yeah, so gluten-free, not always healthier.
Definitely not.
Det kan till och med vara ohälsosamt att undvika gluten för friska människor.
Research shows that people who follow a gluten-free diet are at higher risk of nutritional deficiencies, particularly fibre and B vitamins, but also magnesium, calcium and iron. There's also research to show that it can have an impact on the microbiome as well. So I think that there is a lot of confusion that the gluten-free diet is healthier when in fact it's not.
Så den pågående glutenfria trenden är alltså inte nödvändigtvis nyttig för alla.
If you intend to go naturally gluten-free, so you don't use any substitutes, so you eat only fresh fruit, fresh vegetable, meat, fish, nuts, what you do is to embrace the diet that our species evolved with, and you're going to lose weight and you're going to feel great. But if you are talking about a gluten-free diet in which you indulge with gluten-free pasta and cookies and cakes and bread and beer, you will come back to my clinic, as many people with celiac disease, they do, complaining that they gained 20 pounds since I saw them the previous time. Why? Because you substitute gluten with fat and sugar.
People really need to work at making sure they get an adequate balance of vitamins and nutrients and fibre in their diet. And at the end of the day, a gluten-free cake is still a cake.
My key message would be that if you don't need a gluten-free diet, you don't need to bother. But instead, focus on having a whole food, less processed diet, and you'll still get the same health benefits.